Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Lisa's Love and Light. How are you guys doing today? Happy Friday. TGIF. It's Friday. It's been a crazy week for me, guys. A lot of craziness going on that I had to resolve. Um, yeah, it's been crazy. But I got things done um, without, you know, the feelings were there, like what was going on, but you know, I just kept persevering as I always tell you guys to do, and things worked out for the better. So I'm glad and thanking God for that. And how are you guys doing today? I hope you guys are doing well. You're taking care of yourself, and that these messages are helping you. Thank you, those who commented and told me that these messages are helping you. I'm so glad about that because in a time that we live in today, there's so much going on in this world, and we need to build each other up. We know how it feels and what it is to tear others down, but now let's build each other up step by step, brick by brick, because all these things taking place can really affect our mental and physical health. Remember in a video before, I don't know how many videos ago, probably a few videos ago, where I talk about this, our body is a temple, and how we take care of it will show the outcome of things in our life. If we take care of ourselves, our bodies, everything will flow the way it's supposed to. But if we're neglecting self, then it's going to reflect, it's going to show. So make sure that on a daily basis, even if it's an hour or two, that you're taking time out for yourself to do something to uplift your spirit, whether it's watching motivating videos, listening to music, um, engaging in your favorite puzzles or games, things that build you up instead of things that tear you down. So, guys, let's get into this message today. Please keep in mind, I'm not a therapist, social worker, or a counselor, just somebody who's been through a great deal of pain and grief and all the chaotic stuff. And I had to learn how to swim through these things. And these problems and trials and tribulations do not come with a manual or instruction book. I had to look at things from a different perspective in order to, with the help of God, of course, to climb myself out of these problems. And I'm going to talk to you guys today about some ways I've done that. So please pay attention to these videos because one day may not resonate with you, but the next day it will. Because it's all about healing and not repeating lessons. So with that being said, guys, the title of this video today is A Broken Mindset, a Broken Life. Once again, the title is A Broken Mindset, a Broken Life. Arguments, jealousy, envy, gossip, and drama. All these things I dealt with before I got on the journey to heal my mind, body, and soul. Over and over and over again. No matter what I did, I could turn to the left, turn to the right, go forward. It was the same scenario playing out over and over again. Different characters, but the same scenario. And once I started to really look at these things and why these things were happening, what I learned, guys, in my situation, is that people, places, and circumstances come into our life for a reason, a season, a lifetime, or a lesson. And like I said in prior videos, redundantly, is that these things will keep resurfacing. If we're not learning lessons, because that's what the issue was here with me, not learning the lessons, repeating cycles of toxicity, drama, negativity, All the things that I didn't want because I wasn't paying attention to the red flags and the signs. Once you start to pay attention to these things, because there are signs no matter what situations we're going through, but we have to tune in with our intuition and look at these things and see it for what they are. See behind the mask that some folks are wearing. See behind the deception behind these things. And once you pinpoint that, you can change the outcome. You can do that, guys, and I've learned how to do that. And I'm going to share that with you today. Um, we have to learn lessons in order to heal. And if we don't learn the lessons, we're going to ride that wheel over and over again. The lesson is going to keep coming back. Different, like I said, different characters, but the same scenario. It's going to keep repeating and repeating. And each time it repeats, it gets worse and worse and worse each cycle until we learn that lesson. And then we can jump off that wheel that's going nowhere. One of the things I had to learn, guys, is to acknowledge the pain, to look in the mirror and not and to address the elephant in the room. You know, how I grew up, it was what happens in this house stays in this house. But like I always say, when I talk about this issue, if what happens in this house stays in this house, then how can we heal? Because nobody's talking about the traumatic experiences that took place here. Nobody's talking about the pain that we are carrying around that feels like those tons of bricks that I talk about in a metaphor that I use with having a ton of bricks up, on your back, and you're trying to walk up a hill. It get burdensome, and you're trying to walk up that hill with a ton of bricks. And I use that metaphor because that's how that pain is. There has to be an outlet for the pain for it to pass through. Otherwise, it stays stuck and stagnated within us. And you know what happens then, guys? As we grow up into adulthood, we take that pain and carry it. I always use the metaphor of suitcase, luggage. And then we take that to different connections that come our way. And then the toxicity, and then many of the connections that we enter are toxic. So we are exchanging toxicity back and forth, in and out, round and about. And nothing is growing for the better because we have not addressed that elephant in the room. And the elephant is growing bigger and bigger until it's almost no room for us there because we are not addressing the issue. And when we don't address these issues and we ignore it, pretend it's not there, it's just going to get worse and worse until we have to take notice of it. So acknowledge the pain and trauma that you go through or that you have gone through. One of the things I suggest is therapy, connecting with a good therapist that you vibe with who can help you do these things. And when I started to do therapy, me and my therapist looked at each other for a long time. We do sessions by Zoom, and he's looking at me, I'm looking at him, because I didn't know how to do this. Like I said, none of these problems and things and circumstances come with a instruction book, but I had to feel my way through all these things until things started to creatively flow. And one of the things that helped me in this process was the pro and con list. The first thing, to set strong boundaries so that I can stay focused on healing and self-care. And then do a pro and con list. What were these individuals and circumstances bringing to my life? What was I given and bringing to the table? And what I was bringing to the table was outweighing with the cons. So I had to look at these things. I cry about them, feel the pain, let myself feel the pain of this. Let myself really look at what's happening here instead of looking away, ignoring it, pretending it's not there. And when I started to really do this and start to hurt and go through all that I was going through, because this is not an easy process. Like I said, we all here to learn. And what happened is that I started to set those boundaries. However, what happened is how I was doing things, as I learned those lessons, I started to look at things from a different perspective. When you have someone in um in your space, somebody who likes to create drama and negativity and get you all fired up, over things that, over nothing. I had to learn to look at things from a different perspective and learn how to ignite the fire. I mean, I had to learn how to diffuse the fire instead of igniting one or allowing it to ignite. And when we start to look at the way we were doing things before and all the toxicity and everything, a broken mindset leads to a broken life. And what that means is that when we make bad decisions for our life, there's bad outcomes to it. And sometimes, because we were taught a certain way and we grew up a certain way, and this has to be like that, and that has to be like that, and so forth and so on. So we grow up with that instilled in us. But when we see it's not working out in our life because we have a lot of drama, a lot of toxicity, when we close this door over here, then this door over here open, and it's more toxic things and situations and circumstances and etc. and so forth, right? So what are we doing wrong? We have to take a break and look at the situation, look at it for what it really is, and then see how we can change things for the better. And one of the things I had to do is to do that. I had to sit and ponder and meditate over how I was previously doing things and why these things kept happening. And I kept repeating these lessons until I started, not just in prayer, but sat and thought about the pro and the con list, and thought about why I was attracting these toxic situations into my life. And then what I did is made some changes. I looked at things from a different perspective. And it's hard to do sometimes because I'm right, you're wrong, and etc. and so forth. But when you look at things from a different perspective and you look at situations from a different perspective, then you can change your mindset for the better. And as you change your mindset for the better, then you start making decisions differently. You don't make them redundantly as you've done in the past. You start to make decisions to better circumstances in your life. And that's one of the ways that I've learned how to turn the toxicity into positive things, how to rid myself of most of it. Because otherwise it would keep going on, and that wheel will keep spinning around and around, and things, instead of getting better, you look at it and it look like it's getting worse. And it probably is because the lesson is not being learned. Um, I did the work to heal. I still do healing on myself. But the initial work was very painful to look at. And the changes were very difficult. Like I said, Rome was not built in one day. It was built one brick at a time, one day at a time. And that's how we have to do ourselves, one day at a time, one brick at a time. And I stopped allowing the fire to ignite. I stopped engaging in things that was creating toxicity in my life. Because if someone come up to you and they just want to argue and fight, I leave them where they are, leave the situation where it is. I don't engage in these things anymore. In fact, I don't even, I'll watch the news and things that I need to know about, that's important. But I'm not in the toxic stuff all day and all night, and toxic individuals, who just looking to start drama. I close the doors to those. Remember when I talk about cut off, block, and delete? These were the toxic individuals and circumstances that were in my life. And when I started to change my mindset, because as you start to heal, you start to grow and evolve. and you start to self-care and self-love. And as I continue to do that, I realized that I didn't deserve to have those things in my life. So I had to change things. I start to set those boundaries. And when those boundaries were overstepped, then it's time to close the doors. In my case, cut off, block, and delete, and leave the situation where it is while I go over here and heal and build myself up. Because it doesn't make sense to start the journey to do the healing work and I have all these distractions over here. That's why it's important to set strong boundaries. Now, when people start crossing those boundaries, then it's time to reiterate that. And if it continues for me, then I have to shut off, close doors, cut off, block, and delete. Looking at life from a different perspective has helped me tremendously to change things for the better. I gave it in excuse me guys, I gave an example yesterday about a situation. If you guys go back and watch that video where a friend of mine, and he was just a friend, and he was trying to help me with a situation that I had at a store with something that was purchased that went AWire, right? And he was making a scene, basically acting out of character, etc. An ex-friend, because we're not friends, but and I started to, even back then, this is not right, because this is just going to make a raging fire burn more. And so I started to look at things from a different perspective by weighing what the options were. And then when I did that, then I was able to make a better decision. And that's what I mean in life itself. When you have toxicity around you day and night, night and day, and some people just love to engage in it, then we have to make better decisions in our life. We have to look at things from a different perspective. And for me, it was what I was taught all my life, to be submissive, to be subservient. This is how it is, and this is what you're supposed to do. But it was not working out like that, because the outcomes of the situation was always negative. And so I had to learn to heal first by, addressing the elephant in the room, addressing that these things created trauma and pain within myself. So instead of me carrying tons of bricks, luggage, and baggage and suitcases, now it's time for me to heal these things. And as I did that, guys, and I continue to do that to this day, it has helped me to look at things from a different perspective, and it changed my life for the better. Self-care, no matter who feels how, what, or why, self-love and self-care on a daily basis. Because like I always tell you guys, our body is our temper. We only get one, right? And we need to take care of ourselves. Our physical and mental health is affected when we're dealing with toxicity on top of toxicity. And I had to change the outcome of the situation. And I did it by changing my mindset, taking that broken mindset and working on it by building myself up, self-care, self-love, and then turning it around by looking at things from a different perspective and weighing out what my options are to close the door on these toxic situations. That is one way that I did these things, guys, and I continue to do that until this day. And also, guys, persevere through problems, because as you start to heal and you stay focused on your healing journey, there's going to be distractions over here, over there, etc. And this is why I always emphasize setting strong boundaries. It is important to do that so that you can stay focused on your healing process. I also made vows to God to help others as, I help myself. It helps me as well. I learned to turn that pain into power, power into purpose, purpose into paying it forward to help others as well as helping myself. This is how we build. This is when we share and help others and they get motivated and uplifted, they can go and do the best of themselves, be the best version of themselves. Excuse me, and they can help others as well. Let's keep this going, guys, because it is better for us to continue to heal, grow, and evolve so that we can get to a place of inner peace instead of being broken down into pieces. That's the message today, guys. Please share this message with others. Thank you for being here. Monday, I'll be back with a new message. Please subscribe to the channel because I can never give you a time that I'm going to be here, not a set time for right now anyway. So please subscribe to the channel. You will always get a notification as to when I'm here so that you can join me and you can have others join. And feel free to comment as well on how these videos are helping you. Thank you, guys. Enjoy this weather. Enjoy the weekend. And I'll see you Monday. Make sure you self-care and you're taking time out for yourself. This is Lisa, shedding love and light. Thank you for being here and have a great weekend. And bye for now, guys.